Hello students, and welcome back to the Lore of the Iron Kingdoms with me, Professor Caster. Today we're going to be finishing out the Protectorate of Menoth Warcaster section, as well as go over one of the alternate history of Menoth Warcasters as well that you all know and love, but we'll get to that when we get to that. I want to start first by thanking you guys for showing up to class. If you are enjoying this, please like, subscribe, let your friends and fellow gamers know about this particular YouTube channel. It does help keep this steam train rolling. And a big old thank you to Private Press for letting us read their fantastic lore on the channel. And the last two Protectorate warcasters we're going to be discussing today are Vice Scrutator Vindictus and Vladimir Tzepesci. Yes, that is the Khadoran Vladimir Tzepesci of the Umbrian Empire. And this alternative history is very, very unique, so stick around for that at the end. But let's begin. Vice Scrutator Vindictus. No Menite alive is so occupied with the fate of the souls of heathens as Vice Scrutator Vindictus. Where others among the Protectorate leadership may perceive only a sea of faceless heretics, the Vice Scrutator sees throngs of potential devotees ready to swell the ranks of the faithful. Vindictus preaches with word and deed together. When an unbeliever cannot hear the truth of Menoth's words, he is well prepared to communicate in a language of agony. The Vice Scrutator feels compelled to reveal to the wicked the truth of the true law wherever he finds them. He sees it as his holy duty to tend to the flocks of mankind born without a chance to witness the glories of Menoth's nations on Cain. Thousands of priests tend to the Protectorate's flock, but few make it their life's mission to spread the Creator's word across the face of Cain. To this end, Vindictus periodically travels far from the borders of his homeland, bringing armies loyal to the lawgiver against the faithless and capturing those he believes he can convert by the ministrations of pain. Vindictus has traveled deep into the heartland of the enemies to preach and has delivered many zealots to the faith since the beginning of the Great Crusade. His sermons are filled with the language of penitence to best evoke the wrath of Menoth towards those who spurn their creator. More than one Signaran farm town or Khadoran mining village has seen torn apart by new converts who are desperate to prove their devotions with the blood of their unrepentant neighbors. The holy zealots who follow Vindictus fight with the strength of fanatics and martyrs. Eager to emulate the man who opened their eyes to Menoth, the Vice Scrutator himself can be more forgiving. Even in the chaos of battle, he will stay his hand, sparing those who fall before him, should they accept the Creator as their rightful master. In addition to being a powerful warcaster, Vindictus possesses a singular clarity of vision, and the scope of his lore is vast and impressive. He has studied the enemy and understands their heresies and occult rituals. He has taken it on the burden of understanding the tainted agreements and pacts made by those who have turned from Menoth and sought easier and more corrupt paths to power. These are dangerous studies, but Vindictus has proven he has the strength of will and conviction to confront them and use this lore to root out and punish the blasphemers. He is a master at finding the weaknesses and heart of his enemies and using their faltering conviction to destroy them. Vindictus intends to show all people of Cain the Creator's glory, or personally send their souls to the afterlife. So this guy is straight up a scrutator. Although him being able to stay his hand if somebody repents right in front of him is actually kind of impressive, because most warcasters or most of the Protectorate don't usually do that. They usually just send him up and have Menoth himself sort him out. But yeah, he seems very interesting as a learned man. At least he studies the occult rituals of his neighbors, and I guess he uses those to help them repent, I suppose. Although I suppose I'm not sure if it's fear he uses to help his to get his converts to get all uppity and fight their neighbors or what, but I imagine Menoth's wrath and glory run through this guy pretty heavily. A little less loving than some, but much more loving than others. But let's go over his Mark 3 to Mark 4 changes and see if there is anything. I'm not sure if there will be. And as always, let's start with his stat line. He is a speed 6, he has a magic attack of 6, he has a mat of 6, He is semi-melee caster when it comes to being able to take punishment. Defense of 15, arm of 16, control range of 12, and he has Pathfinder innately, so that's kind of a nice. His abilities are Call of Sacrifice. So Call of Sacrifice, Holy Zealot, so he is a Holy Zealot warcaster, so you want to have a unit or two of those guys around. If this model is disabled by an enemy attack, you can choose a non-disabled friendly Holy Zealot trooper within 5 of this model to be destroyed. If another model is destroyed as a result of Call of Sacrifice, remove 1 point of damage from this model. So if he's about to be laid low, you can have models around him die, so you want to have him within that unit to give him an extra, 5, 7 shots, depending on if they have a weapon attachment. I'm not sure if they have weapon attachments. We haven't got to them yet. But that would be the only ability on him. Looks like one of his other abilities has been removed. So he used to have an ability called Vindictive. When a spell or special rule on an enemy model causes one or more of this model's upkeep spells to expire from a friendly model/unit, this model can immediately cast the expiring spell on another friendly model without spending focus. See, that sounds like it gets real complicated real quick. So, but that was actually a neat little ability. But I can understand why they took that out. Most likely, it's more of a balance reason, as per usual. His weapons, very dangerous weapons here, are the Lawgiver, and this is a range 1, POW 12. Magical and blessed, so it ignores any kind of armor or defense buff given to a person with terms of magic. So that's always nice. And the special ability on it is called Death Toll Holy Zealot. When this model boxes a living enemy model or enemy warrior model, remove that model from play and add 1 grunt to a friendly Holy Zealot unit within 8 of this model, and place the grunt within 2 of another model in that unit. The grunt must forfeit its normal movement and combat action the turn it is put into play. So he is literally changing his devotees and adding more Holy Zealots to his army. So he's taking your enemy and adding it to his own, kind of like the Cricks do, but with bodies. But he's doing it with Holy Zealots. So that's kind of similar, although you're not changing them to undead. You're just changing them to people that are willing to fight for you. So yeah, you want to keep this guy with lots of Holy Zealot units around him. Keep him going, because very useful to him. And depending on how many guys you can slay, he can keep adding them. And they have to be warrior models. So remember, warrior models, they can't be warjacks, war beast, or the like. They have to be warrior. His other weapon, Solace, is a magical chain weapon, so it ignores shields. It's also a POW 12, also a range 1, which is kind of weird for a flail, but range 1, that happens. Maybe it's a short flail. This weapon also has a death toll on it, Holy Zealot. So again, if he kills somebody, if he kills a warrior model, you get to add a grunt model to a Holy Zealot unit. So yeah, that's awesome. Not really anything changed with his weapons at all, but let's go over his feat, see if anything changed there. Divine Protection. While in Vindictus control range, friendly faction warrior models cannot be targeted by charges, slam power attacks, enemy spells, or non-magical range spells. So that actually covers everything. So they can't be shot at with magic or bullets, they can't be charged, and they can't be slammed. So all of your warrior models are protected from those types of things. So somebody has to walk up and take a swing at you. And that's the exact same thing it was before. Yeah, enemy spells and non-magical range attacks. So yeah, so it protects your guys, and it's not auto miss. It's they can't target them. They're not even there. So it's not, they can't use their whole we missed, so it's a blast damage. That has been removed with that particular feat. But let's go over his spell list and see if anything's changed there. Looks like we still have Admonition. When an enemy model advances in ended movement, or is placed within 6 inches of target model in the spellcaster's battle group, the affected model can immediately advance up to 3 inches. So he can literally pull himself out of a reach weapon range with that spell, making your battle group a little bit more, it's more or less protecting them from dying instantly if someone starts really hammering into them. So gets them out of the ranges. And then the other one looks like we have Defender's Ward. So target friendly faction model / unit gains +2 defense and arm. And yeah, +2 defense and arm, always very useful, and especially for his holy zealots, they definitely need more defense and arm because they do not take hits very well because, well, they are kind of more of a filler type of unit, but very useful in large groups, so you want to always have those guys in large groups. Next spell we still have is Immolation, of course, because every Menoth Warcaster has a fire spell of some sort. So this one's causes fire damage on a critical hit. Models hit suffer the fire continuous effect. It's a range 8, POW 12. And then we have Penitence, and that's the same from the original. So target friendly faction model / unit. When one or more affected models are damaged by an enemy attack immediately after the attack is resolved, the attacker suffers 1 point of fire damage unless it has the immunity to fire. So if these guys are being hit, or if this unit that has this upkeep spell on it is being hit by a 1 wound unit, every shot they do or every damage they do to that unit will kill somebody. So yeah, that'll keep your enemies off of those guys pretty heavily. The next spell that was removed was True Path. So True Path was removed in Mark IV, but let's read over, see what it does. True Path, spellcaster and friendly faction warrior models / units beginning their activation in his control gain +2 to advancing as part of their normal movement and Pathfinder. So that one's been replaced with Crusader's Call, which is very similar to the beginning, or to True Path. So Crusader's Call, friendly faction models beginning a charge in the spellcaster's control range gain +2 speed. So I imagine it's been made a little bit simpler, but it removes, you don't no longer get Pathfinder, and it has to be a charge. So that's probably for a balanced reason, and that makes sense, I guess. But he is a very dangerous warcaster, especially given lots of zealots to play with. He will just keep adding to them every time they're killed. He goes in, kills some people, adds some more to their units, kind of like the press gangers of the pirates, I guess. So yeah, very dangerous warcaster. I do not look forward to having to face him on the battlefield. He is not super melee, but his spells make everybody around him a lot more dangerous and a lot more pokey. So, but let's move on. Vladimir Tzepesci, champion of the Old Faith. What if a compassionate Menoth Priest had reached the wounded Vladimir before the Old Witch did? The ancient heritage of the Old Faith could appeal to something within the last Horse Lord, and the Protectorate's presence in Lael would have presented him a chance to revive the Kingdom of Umbri. And with Vladimir Tzepesci being able to revive the Kingdom of Umbri as his birthright as a Horse Lord, was actually one of his biggest pushes towards, all of his stuff. So, and originally the Old Witch found him in the swamps of the Thornwood Forest after he was, knocked down or, cut down by somebody, and she, basically got him back to health. But what if a Menoth Priest found him and got him into the Warriors of the Old Faith in his Horse Lord blood? Let's read his Mark III to Mark IV changes, since, of course, we do not know that much about him because this guy doesn't exist, because he is an alternate universe. And will he be in Mark IV? Right now, no, not yet, because he came out during a league play, I guess, with a bunch of alternate history warcasters. But let's read about his Mark III and kind of make assumptions on what he could be if he ever did get boosted up to a Mark IV. But we will always start with his stats. So speed 6, mat 7, defense 15, armor 16, focus 7, because he's always been a very, very good warcaster. And his control range is a 14. His weapons are Fate and Destiny, which is different from his big old sword he got with the Old Witch on his version 2. But Fate and Destiny. Fate has a reach of 1 inch, a power of 13, sorry. I'm reading this off the Warmachine University since they always have updated stuff for the Mark III. He has Blood Boon, so anytime he kills somebody with that weapon, he can cast a spell that costs 3 or less without having to spend the focus. And then his second weapon, Destiny, a range 1, 10 melee, has a magic type, like both of his stuff. And his feat would be Crusade. So friendly faction models beginning their activation in Vladimir's control range gain +2 speed and +2 strength. The Warjacks in Vladimir's control range beginning their activation in his control can run or charge without spending focus. So that is a very, very heavy ability, because giving your guys +2 speed and +2 to their melee damage rolls is always a very useful and very dangerous. And it gives it to everybody, which makes it a little bit better than his Blood Legacy from his version 2 that he got after the Thornwood War. But that version gave him that version gave D3 +3 faction non-character warrior models +3 speed, mat, rat, and defense and arm, and a additional +3 to their melee attack damage rolls, which it seems pretty powerful. But if you put Vladimir into a bunch of units, and yet with his 14-inch control range, giving them all +2 speed and +2 to their damage is kind of way better, especially with some of the units of the Menoth that we'll be going over later. But let's go over his Mark III spells and see how those look. He has Ashes to Ashes, so if target model is hit, D3 of the nearest models within 4 inches suffer a POW 10 fire roll. These additional attacks are not considered to have caused by an attack, and its attacks are simultaneous. And it's a range 8 power 10 spell, so being able to hit a bunch of people with a power 10 fire damage is useful, especially for low armored targets. Creator's Wrath. The spellcaster gains an additional die on a melee attack and melee damage rolls, and when making a melee attack, the caster ignores spell effects that add to the target's defense and arm, which is very similar to one of his abilities that he had. I think it's Martial Paragon. Yeah, it is very similar to Martial Paragon. Yeah, being able to add an additional die to all your melee attack rolls, and this only costs 2 for a caster who has 7 focus, and it's upkeepable. So yeah, that's a terrifying spell, because he's automatically giving himself Weapon Master, and it's an additional die, so he can boost it on top of that, and it gives him Blessed with that. Yeah, that is a heck of a broken spell, and I imagine that's one of the reasons why they gave him his 2 swords instead of the one big one, because yeah, in this particular version, that is a super dangerous spell. Then he has Defender's Ward. Target friendly faction model / unit gain +2 defense and arm, and yeah, that's about it. It's upkeepable as well, so you can keep one of your units, or especially your heavy armored units or your heavy defense units, alive for a little bit longer. Immolation, because every Midnight Warcaster has to have a fire spell. I think that's a rule that we've gone over. I don't think we've seen a Midnight Warcaster who does not have some sort of fire spell to cleanse the unbeliever. So Immolation causes fire damage, and on critical hit, models hit suffer fire continuous effect. Easy. Then we have Signs and Portents, which is one of Vladimir's basic spells. While in the spellcaster's control range, friendly faction models gain an additional die on attack and damage rolls, and then you discard the lowest roll in each roll. So yeah, you put the dice forever in your favor. And this matches up with his, Creator's Wrath as well. So, he rolls 4 dice, kicks rid of the lowest one, and then he can boost it if he feels like it. So, yeah, very dangerous melee warcaster. Thank goodness he's not in Mark IV, because I feel like he would break a lot of stuff. Or in the Mark IV, they might change up some of his spells so he's a little bit less powerful for balance. We'll see how that happens. But as mentioned at the beginning, this is the last of all of the Mark III warcasters for the Protectorate of Menoth that we have. So that will conclude this video. I know it's kind of short, but that's it. Thank you guys so much if you made it to the end of this class. If you could, please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how you're enjoying this. Let me know if you've ever gotten to play with the alternate history of warcasters. I do not believe that I have, but would be willing to go into it if I played with any of these factions. Also, thank you again, Privateer Press, for letting us read your fantastic lore. And as always, class dismissed.